This is Spain issue 16, and there are three things of incredible note about this comic. Firstly, it is written by Van Morrison. Secondly, this is the first issue of Spain that is drawn by Greg Batman from the New 52. He is one of my favourite artists, and he effectively becomes, after Todd McFarlane, he would probably be most people's favourite Spain artist. And the third thing is that the top staple is loose. This is a three-part story, so Van Morrison is sticking around. He isn't just doing one issue like Nigel Sandman or Dave Sim. And this would also be the first issue of Spain not drawn by Todd McFarlane. I'm not sure if he is really involved at all, because he's not credited for anything, not even like creating the character. But I imagine he would have final say over what they did with his character. I believe that this story was like 3 issues relief, while he worked on Batman vs Spain with Hank Miller. If you want us to review that one, comment down below in the comments with a comment, because I have got it and I have things to say about it. This story though, the idea is that there's this place, it's called Simonsville, looks quite nice, and it's a bit like that film, Interceptions, you know, the Graham Nolan one. Simonsville, it's like a little world based on Spain's memories, well, Simon Albertson's memories. And then there's a scary demon monster, so scary that you've got to turn it sideways, and I love doing that with me comics. I'm not gonna lie though, this is disappointing. Disappointing in that it is one of my favourite writers, one of my favourite artists, on a book created by one of my favourite other artists, one of my favourite artists as an inker, another great artist as another inker, and it's one of my, I wouldn't say favourite, but one of the books that I like. But I think it would always be disappointing, regardless of my problems with this story. First of which is, in my opinion, the story isn't told that well. A lot of stuff isn't established correctly or clearly. You definitely need to read this one twice. I mean, I had to read it twice, and halfway through that second time, I had to Google something. I think the problem is Van Morrison's writing style and Spain's writing style just didn't mesh. Van Morrison, he needs a lot more text and time to establish all his ideas. Nearly everything Van Morrison writes into a script is important to the comic. And Spain has always been quick-paced, full of brevity, short little statements, and so on. The logic behind Simonsville, it is formed from protoplasm, and the whole town, it's based on the memories of Simon Albertson. We have got this one fella, he has gotten the protoplasm. It's actually called cytoplasm. He has gotten it for himself, and he's trying to sell it to the military to use as a weapon. And the stuff we're seeing with the soldiers, that is like a field test. It's a bit tricky to follow all the backstory at the start. You're not really sure what is relevant and what isn't. And all the while that you're being told this stuff, you're also trying to follow a separate bit of action that is happening. So they have made Simonsville from the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm, it responds to your thoughts, usually whatever you fear. Cytoplasm is actually what hell is made of. So that is where the monsters and the demons come from, the soldiers' fears and that. But obviously it can respond to desires as well, and memories, hence the rather normal looking Simonsville. This guy as well, he is not the military. I think he is from Spain issue 1. He is trying to sell it to the military. He is like a government agent. He was the one who made the deal to send Simon Albertson to L, which of course made him into Spain. He made a deal with L, and that is how he got all this cytoplasm. And also, make note of this character, because you will see him again, and the book doesn't make it entirely clear or upfront that it's meant to be the same character. There is Spain though. As I said, Greg Batman's first issue, and he draws Spain for ages. Before this, he had done Kazar with Mark Griswold, and Excellent Force with Fabio Nicieza. Really good artist, and he quickly got fast-tracked up the chain. And there is one of Wild Force, or whatever they are called. Remember when they used to try and have a shared universe at Image? The more easier plot to follow is this one, The Strand with Spain. He is trying to solve his own murder, how he became Spain, so he's gonna go and dig up his own grave to see if he really is Simon Albertson. But there's a little crime bit, and it's probably the best scene in the comic, cause it's really easy to follow, nearly. There's some bad fellas, and they are gonna burn a homeless man, but Spain intervenes and he beats them up with violence. And this is the bit that's a bit confusing. You're not really sure which order you're meant to read it in. Sorry about that. Guess I was just feeling pissed. Then we have got like the Evan Corporation thing. Evan, it was like a corporation in Spain, and we had pretty women in suits. And here is another plot line. Evan, they want to make their own Spain. This woman is actually the one from the new issue of Spain. You know, the woman that I said I wanted to grab and bend her backwards and repeatedly anally penetrate with me erect dick. I didn't say it like that, but it was heavily implied, also with her consent. And she seems to have de-aged as the book went on. She seemed much younger and feistier in issue 293. But yeah, Evan, they want to make their own Spain, because Spain, he is like L's servant. So Evan, they want their own Spain. And here is some more high concepts. I think the problem is, Van Morrison, he is very good with high concepts. And Todd McFarlane, early on, he was trying to cram Spain with loads of high concepts. And this story introduces far too many. We have got the cytoplasm, we have got Simonsville, we have got the stuff with Evan, we have got the alternative Spain that they want to make. And now this, and this is just flippantly there. It's a satellite in space that has been taken over by these fire elementals. They are from Evan, and this is just too many big concepts. You need downtime to climatize to the other big concepts. And these fire elementals are barely in it. They're not entirely relevant, and they aren't really explained. You could have just had them be off-panel. They are the ones that are going to select and empower the new Evan version of Spain. This is him. It's the guy from the start. He becomes anti-Spain. And this is one of the elements that I felt wasn't telegraphed well. You didn't realise it is the bloke from the start until about 3 pages time, when he refers back to the army general that he was talking to. As I said, a lot of this is either confusingly delivered or not communicated at all. He's practicing martial arts. A lot of the Image creators, they loved having people practicing martial arts for some reason. the fire elementals abduct him, and Spain, he digs up his own grave, and there's a skeleton in it, so maybe he isn't really Simon Albertson, except he is, don't worry. And there is the Evan version of Spain. He's called the Anti-Spain. So I guess that makes Spain Uncle Spain. I reckon that this design is inspired a lot by Dr. Fate, because he's got a helmet like him, and he's got the little ankh symbols. Then we have got 2 pin-ups here and a letters column. And I'll just quickly note, a lot of these letters are really sour. They're really angry and aggressive towards Todd McFarlane. It's the same when he was writing and drawing Spider-Man. And here, the responses are diplomatic and polite enough. And it's just fascinating how Image Comics has changed so much in 20 years. There's Batman vs. Spain advert. As I said, comment if you want us to review this one. I'll probably finish this Van Morrison story first, but I wouldn't mind doing Batman vs. Spain. I think there was a second Batman and Spain crossover. I haven't got that one. So yeah, this is a bit disappointing. I mean, having reread it, and now I reckon I completely understand it, it's not a bad story, it's just badly told. It fails on the fundamental level of being immediately understandable. So you are gonna have to read this one and at least be prepared to constantly flip back and forth to make sure that you have gotten everything that you need and that you are understanding all the exposition that they dump intensely in the first few pages. I'm going to rate this one a 7 thumbs up.